What do you want me to say? I'm a fan of Assassin's Creed. This will be a bias review. Hello, welcome to another review here on my channel. Take a good look at Assassin's Creed Origins. Yes, indeed. And yeah, Assassin's Creed Origins are essentially... It was released in 2017 and came after a 1-year delay of the main series essentially. The last entry was Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which was released in 2015, and Assassin's Creed have been a yearly release until that year. Then they took a year off of the main series, new games, and decided to release Assassin's Creed Origins this year. Or last year, 2017. It is 2018 right now, but yeah. That's all the information I have, so let's jump right into it. Assassin's Creed Origins are essentially the story behind the origins of the Assassin's Creed essentially, and how the Creed essentially started. At least that is what I understand they want to tell. You're following the assassin named Bayek, and you follow his wife Aya and some other different historical characters such as Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. But you're following Bayek's road to revenge by him killing different, let's say, high up priestess or similar fashion or something like that, that are named after different types of animals that are important in Egypt. Yes, indeed, the game are essentially placed in Egypt. Why he wants revenge? Because they essentially killed his son and he wants to get revenge because of that. And during the story we also see some tidbits that essentially shows you how the Assassin's Creed essentially started. One of the plot points that they will tell is how they lost this, I don't know, the ring finger or something similar to that. Sorry. And how they lost that, and in order to use the hidden blade, which we also will hear the origin story behind a little bit, a fast bit, etc, etc. You will get some tidbits about that in the storyline. When it comes to the storyline, I overall think it was interesting, but at the same time felt a little bit too similar for my taste essentially. I like that they showed everything that when it comes to the origin of the Assassin's Creed, and essentially tell a great story with that essentially. And they also, as I said, had a revenge story mixed with that, and it worked for the most part, but I think revenge story have been used too many times in Assassin's Creed and etc, etc. And what I've forgotten to say is that you have a current day section as well, which the story I don't really know or care about at all, because it didn't really give you anything. You got a new character, that's it. I don't know anything about her, I may have missed something, but overall I think the story are good, but there are some bits I think are just unnecessary, and some that I think they have reused too many times. The gameplay in Assassin's Creed Origins have been revamped a little bit. You still have the stealth and the essentially assassinations from previous games, but the main combat are essentially with different weapons, which are more RPG-like, because you go around and collect different rarities in the weapons and essentially upgrade them and try to get the strongest weapons in order to defeat the enemies much easier. Which is a little bit different from previous games, because they have just one gun or one sword or essentially something like that, and they are not used that often because you want to use the Assassin's Blade for the most part during the previous games. But in this game, you want to use these new weapons or the regular weapons because it is more fun to actually fight your way through things. But at the same time, you also can do the old way essentially, which is kill everyone in hiding. You also have different gameplays such as racing, going boats. You also have a Colosseum, which is essentially a horde mode and fighting and etc. So the gameplay have been a little bit revamped and feels fresh for being Assassin's Creed essentially. And with that, they also have revamped the essentially health bars of the different enemies and making different how strong they are and etc. That becomes armor and different things like that, which is interesting and, as I said, a fresh thing for Assassin's Creed. The characters in this game are decent for the most part. I actually like Bayek and his wife Aya. They are a lovable couple, if you want to call it that. But then we have these historical characters, and we also have the enemies, which are sometimes annoying and sometimes really interesting. I really like to see Cleopatra and Julius Caesar because I really like history, so seeing those characters in this game and how everything essentially, how the storylines essentially started and ended with the Assassins and Templars are really interesting and really fun to watch. But when it comes to the enemies or the main bad guys, I don't really care for them for the most part because yes, you get some tidbits when you're doing side quests and etc, which I forgot to mention in the gameplay stuff. But yeah, you have side quests and there are main quests essentially. When you have side quests that you do around the towns where the bad guy is, which will give you a little bit with story or tidbits or what do you say, hints about how bad this character you're going to kill is. And I like that about this game, but when you essentially go to the bad guys, they are not that interesting for the most part. I like a huntress, I think she was called a hyena. She was fun and interesting, one of the few. And I can't remember that many more else because I didn't really care about them. Well, we had one that was a backstabber. He was kinda interesting, but for the most part, they were forgettable and not that interesting in my opinion. The music in this game are, as always, really good and essentially gives you a hint and everything that is when it comes to gameplay and what is going on in the world and etc. And it fits really well with the Egypt kind of style essentially. This time around, Assassin's Creed are set in Egypt, and it's really fun to see the historical pyramids, the towns and cities that was in Egypt at the time. And if all of this was true, I think it was, they are really what do you say? They are really forward, if you want to understand what I mean. They are really smart people, essentially, the people of Egypt. And yeah, I really like the settings. It is just interesting to watch and just, yeah. Overall, Assassin's Creed Origins are a good game that have enough fresh feeling to it and really interesting setting and characters that you feel that you get the most of it that you want essentially. But when they have a setback when it comes to storyline, which is for the most part the current day, which feels unnecessary, and we also have some reused storylines such as revenge story again, which I am a little bit tired about. And you also then we also go to the characters, which is main guys, which are for the most part forgettable, but you have some of the characters that I think are really interesting. So overall, this game is a good game, and I recommend it a lot because I love Assassin's Creed, so giving it a bad grade would be weird. The final verdict for Assassin's Creed Origins are going to be an 8.2 out of 10. That's all for today, folks. I'll see you next time. Bye.